And what India does is they import the oil, they refine it, and then they sell it to Europe.
Before we continue, we invite you to follow our channel, the only American show reporting live from Ukraine every day.
More than 130 world leaders are meeting at the United Nations this week. President Zelenskyy of Ukraine among them. Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Kyiv. And Joe, obviously, the Middle East and Russia's war in Ukraine, big topics this week. What are you expecting to come out of this session?
Bob, hello from Kyiv. And I just took the train this morning from Odessa. My little seaside sojourn is over, and now I'm here in the capital. And by the way, I appreciate how you say Russia's war on Ukraine, because almost every media, BBC, Reuters, AP, they fall into the habit of simply saying the war in Ukraine, kind of like it's some kind of tornado or uncontrollable natural disaster. But it is Russia is being the agent of this war. And as we look at, this is one. So President Zelenskyy, this is one reason why he's there in Washington is to make the case. I think one thing that, he's got some good stories to tell. Ukrainians are still on Russian soil in Kursk region of Russia, and Russia has no major response. And as we said a week ago, when Ukrainians last Monday hit one of Russia's biggest ammunition depots, it registered as an earthquake. It was such a major strike by Ukrainian drones, and Russia, immediately went into nuclear threat mode. And, for a couple of days, that was what the press was worried about. Everyone was talking about nuclear threats. And time again, when Ukraine has a big success like that, we see more intense rhetoric from Russia. But we see less intense, Russia is forced to scramble and respond to it. And I think, as I said last week, maybe a bit audaciously, I said, if we get to today and we've not been nuked, I think we could begin to see that maybe, a lot of this rhetoric from Russia is just that, is rhetoric. And so I think that's probably, one of that's the case that President Zelenskyy is going to try to make. And we still see, I just saw, it was a quick interview as President Biden was walking into the White House, and he was asked once again by a reporter, will you support, will you give permission for Ukraine at least to use British weapons to hit targets within Russia, deep within Russia? And President Biden still says no on that. And I think, this is, I think there's not a lot of hope that that's going to change. And that's sort of the stark reality. Meanwhile, President Zelenskyy was in Scranton, Pennsylvania today, visiting a munitions factory where they make some of the weapons that the United States does give to Ukraine to use here. And it was great to see the scenes of the workers of Scranton meeting President Zelenskyy. And you could tell they really felt they were in the presence of, someone they really admire. And the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania created a deal with sort of a business cooperation deal with the southern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia, that old capital of the Cossacks. And even as they made this deal just a few hours before yesterday, the Russians for the first time sent this highly destructive glide bombs. They're extremely messy. And for the first time ever, they sent that to Zaporizhia city, causing many injuries and much damage throughout that city, even as that city makes a deal with Pennsylvania for restructuring and for business enhancement.
I was reading about Ukraine's success battling the Russian Navy and how this is helping the United States. The Navy is taking lessons from its combat in the Red Sea over the past year and what Ukraine has done to hold off the Russians in the Black Sea. And they say the Navy is saying this is going to possibly help U.S. military leaders prepare the service for a potential future conflict with China.
It makes sense, Bob. I mean, as I saw for the past 3 weeks, every day I would look upon the Black Sea. We came under fire a few times, including quite a close call for me on Friday. As I was running and a missile flew right over my head and exploded nearby. And by the way, a side note, which I feel I have to report, overlooking the port of, the major port in Odessa is the Chinese consulate. And I think China is an ally of Russia, and they have a prime spot in Odessa to observe the port, exactly the type of place that Russia is continuing to try to attack. But all that said, I saw so many cargo ships. I heard the foghorns. There's so much commerce that's happening in the Black Sea because of what Ukrainians have been able to do with drones against the Russian Navy. And so, and it's Ukrainian drones not only in the Black Sea, but that's also what they're using to hit these munitions depots deep within Russia. And over the weekend, Ukrainians hit several more. And so I think, the smartest people in the American defense industry and in the Pentagon are really paying attention here because this is the future of warfare. And you can even see how, Ukrainians have sometimes been upsetting or making major defense companies uncomfortable because for just a few hundred or a few $1,000s, they can make a drone that maybe a U.S. defense contractor would want to sell for like $80,000. And Ukrainians are very good at good in an economic way to make very effective and powerful drones. Meanwhile, another thing to look at is we look at what's happening in New York and Washington this week. Despite all the sanctions on Russia, Russia is still able to sell to really get a lot of money especially from crude oil. And India is now one of the top importers of crude oil from Russia. And what India does is they import the oil, they refine it, and then they sell it to Europe and other countries. So all these countries that claim to have sanctions against Russia, it looks cosmetically, it looks nice, but actually they're benefiting because that reduces the price. India refines it, and they buy the Russian refined oil, refined by the Indians, but still from Russia. European countries are buying this, and so this is and that oil is what fuels that pays for the missiles that hit Ukrainians every day, and so it's keeping prices lower in Europe, but it's still contributing to the Russian war machine, and this is something that's not even being addressed.
Yes, as always, we appreciate hearing news from you that we don't get anywhere else. Joseph Lindsley in Kyiv. Do me a favor, Joe, when you go out for your run today, how about wearing a helmet?
I think not. Yeah, but by the way, I should mention there's a great group of Ukrainian musicians called Cultural Forces, and right now they're in Washington for this big Ukraine summit happening today. And but these guys they're starting a 64-day tour of the U.S. So I'll try to keep you informed as to where they're going, and maybe some of you will find them as they travel America, playing some music.
Yeah, and share some of that great culture from Ukraine. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow, Joe.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?